Okay, so today I wanted to chat to you guys about just some of the employment rights bills updates that is trickling through. You would have seen at the same time as the budget coming through, there was quite a big hoo-ha about the unfair dismissal time period that was being moved. They made it big news, as if we didn't already know that there was this ping pong game between the two houses, one saying it should be a day one right and one saying no, 6 months. But I guess at the time the news ran it, it was a nice U-turn story to go with the political situation at the time. But I thought I would update you on what we know. So at this point, there is still no actual confirmation as to whether it's going to be 6 months or whether it's going to be a day one right. But it all seems to be leaning a lot towards it being 6 months. Because it's been pushed back so many times, I think the expectation that they would get it through for a day one right is unlikely. The other thing that we need to consider is it seems that the date might be coming closer than initially thought. So I think initially it was thought that this would maybe be an early 2027 change, and it now looks like it might be more of a late 2026 change. So keeping that in mind, like I say, there is no confirmation. We won't know until we really know. But to keep you up to date with the gossip as it is, it looks like it is more likely to be 6 months than it is to be a day one right, and it looks like it will be a 2026 change rather than a 2027 change. So something that is important, if it is going to be a 6 month change, this is important anyway, whether it's a 6 months or a day one right change, but it'll be, there'll be more, it'll play a bigger part if it is a change to 6 months. And that is what you do in your 6 month probation period. So this will require regular probation reviews with employees in their probation, so that they know how their probation is going and that they know that there are concerns, so that when you're letting them go or you've extended their probation with a month or something like that, that you have that kind of track record to let them go. Like I say, it will be important in both situations, but if you have a situation where you've got a 6 month probation and then you're extending for a month, you're going to need this to fall back on. The other thing that is imminent is the SSP changes. So we've talked to you guys a lot about that before. I'm not really going to go too much into it, but there are 2 SSP changes, okay? They are expected for early 2026. And that is that the waiting days will be removed, so SSP will be paid from day one of their absence. And the threshold, I'm saying it's being removed, but it still exists. The difference is just that if an employee is not meeting that earnings threshold, they will then get 80% of their earnings. So there'll be no more of this, an employee doesn't qualify because they don't meet the earnings threshold, so they don't get anything. They'll still get something. They will get whichever is greater, the SSP rate or 80% of their earnings.
Sorry, Nadia, everyone gets that 0 hour, everyone, don't they? There's no differentiation.
Yeah. All employees will get that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no change to that.
No, so, even if they just work 1 day a month and they're off sick that one day, they're going to get sick pay. Yeah.
Yes, the only helpful thing there is if they're only working 1 day a month, then hopefully 80% of their earnings will be pretty low.
Yeah.
But yes, that is the situation. So this is the one that's going to hit you guys in the pocket. Yeah, that's why we've been talking about it for ages, because this is the one. You know, the other one, the change to the to when unfair dismissal comes in, it's more of a bigger picture issue. It's sure, you know, it limits you in terms of when you can let go of an employee that's not working out, but that is more of it just requires you to take a few more steps in order to correct.
It means the managers, the line managers, have got to be more accountable, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas the SSP one is going to hit you in the pocket. Yeah. So, you know, that employee that's off for a couple of days every couple of months, and the moment you're not paying them, suddenly you're going to be paying them. It'll be frustrating. Family leave. So there are some changes to some family leave things coming up as well. We haven't talked too much about it because it's not all that clear yet. It's very much like there will be a change to this, but what the change will look like isn't very clear. But one of the ones that is fairly clear is that paternity and unpaid parental leave will become day one rights. So at the moment, there is like a 26-week, you know, employees have to be employed 26 weeks before they can get that. I mean, obviously maternity leave, they will always get maternity leave. Whether they get maternity pay, that is not changing at this point. There is no indication that the way it's established whether an employee gets maternity pay or not is set to change. It doesn't seem that it is. But so an employee for maternity will always get maternity leave anyway. But paternity and unpaid parental leave at the moment, there is this like 26-week period. That's going to go. So people can come and work for you and 3 weeks later go on paternity leave. Now, a lot of our clients don't enforce that 26-week rule anyway. You know, a lot of our clients are quite happy for someone to take their paternity leave anyway. But if you do, then keep that in mind. That is a change that's expected in 2026. The other change that is expected, this is more in 2027, is that there will be stronger protection around employees returning from pregnancy and maternity leave. Now, I have to point out there is already a fairly lengthy period of protection in place. So an employee has protection for 18 months from when their baby is born against redundancy, for example. So they have protections. And that protection stays in place for 18 months. Now, most of our clients, in most cases, the employee is actually on maternity leave for the full 52 weeks. So we always think of it as sort of 6 months after they come back, they have that protection in place. So keep this in mind if you're going to be doing things like restructures and that sort of thing. So now they are looking at increasing that 18-week period potentially to 24 weeks. 18 months to 24 months. This is expected in 2027, and it will be a change. The change will have an impact when it comes in, but it is quite far off. But I do want you to remember that there is already quite a lengthy protection in place for this.
Can I just ask you a couple of maternity while we're on the subject? Is that all right, Mel? So currently, if they are less than 26 weeks service with us, they have to apply for their maternity leave pay, don't they, through the job centre or whatever. So
Yeah,
will that
roughly,
be different, and we will have to process all that payment? Because obviously at the moment
there's no
it's
indication that
okay, because at the
sorry,
moment it's
that's what I was saying. There's no indication that part around the payment of maternity leave will change.
okay, because I'm just like confused as well. Is like, do they qualify for the 6 weeks at 90%, and then the the ordinary maternity leave pay?
The answer is no, except if you're so the answer has always been no.
Yeah.
Except if your policy gives that. So if you have if you have enhanced maternity pay and your policy allows for your policy, for example, says that all people, everyone will get this, then sure, yes, you have to go with what your policy says. But if you just have a statutory policy in place, then no, if someone, wasn't employed, I believe it's in their 15th week before their due date.
Yeah.
No, sorry, in their 50, if they weren't employed in their 15th week before their qualifying weeks, then something like that. But it's roughly, you're right, it's roughly 26 weeks. Then they won't get, they won't qualify for maternity pay from the employer. They will still get maternity leave, but they apply for the maternity pay through job centre.
Yeah. And I actually just had somebody have their baby, and they were due to finish. So they had all their accrued holiday, and their baby was due on the 3rd of December. So I put her up to holiday until then. She actually had the baby the 1st of December. And then I Googled it, and I'm like, okay, so when does maternity start? The day of the baby or the day after the baby? And I Googled it, and I had conflicting, it depends. So if she had planned to be on holiday, and then they said it's the day after, not the day of. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we usually go with that rule.
The day after the baby's born.
You're right. There's quite a lot of
ambiguity,
niggly conflict about is it the day of or the day after. So we tend to say the day after the baby is born is the day the maternity leave starts.
Okay, good. I've done it like
that.
Yeah.
Any other questions about maternity?
Also, after the 26 weeks, I don't know if this is still after the ordinary maternity leave, is it changed that, because before it was like they are allowed to come back to their same job afterwards, but if they take additional, they're not necessarily, if things were changed, they're not necessarily not allowed, but, things changed to come back to the same job. Yeah. What's that?
So that is not changing. But that is a dangerous game to play, and it always has been. Yes, that is not changing, and you're not wrong about what you're stating. But in practice, to actually put it in place and carry it out safely is practically impossible.
Yeah.
But what that means, for example, is if an employee only takes. And if an employee doesn't take the additional part of the maternity leave, if they only take the main part of the maternity leave and they then return, if they only take the 39 weeks, right? If they then return after that, they are entitled to come back to exactly what they had before they went. Mm-hmm. Okay? Even if you've got someone in that job, tough luck for you. So, but if they take the additional part, so let's say, for example, they've taken the additional part and maybe that role has slightly changed in terms of the duties, maybe it was a office administration job, and maybe that job used to do payroll and now it doesn't do payroll anymore, but it does banking or something, so if the role has slightly changed, but it is still very similar and the hours, the terms are still very similar, then it's fine. It doesn't have to be exactly what it was before. The same goes, for example, if you have someone who used to maybe just run food in your bar and catering department, and actually you don't have the space for just a food runner now, but you do have the space for someone to work a mixed role of running the food, so working in the restaurant and working some bar shifts, but the shifts themselves are not really changing and you can accommodate the sort of terms before, then you're okay. So like I say, it says it on paper, but actually using it is not as straightforward as it might sound.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Right. So, and then just one of the other things that we don't have a lot of clarity on at all at this point is bereavement leave. We know it's coming. We know they're talking about it, but there's really very, very, very little information out there that is concrete enough to even talk about in terms of what that's going to look like. We're expecting that it's unpaid at this point. There's sort of indications that it's unpaid. But although when this was originally talked about 2 years ago, it was like, oh my God, it's going to be a month's pay, whereas it doesn't look like it's going to be anything like that. It's going to probably be something more like a week's unpaid.
Do you know what, though? I think like what they can do, obviously that's extremely stressful potentially, if that's someone close to you, they can just sign off sick and just get SSP because they're sick with mental health issues for bereavement, aren't they?
Yeah. So, I mean, again, this is one of those that as long as it's unpaid, it's really not going to make that much of a difference to how you operate. Because what I don't see is clients coming to me and saying someone's sister has passed away and they have taken 2 weeks off. They're not worried about them taking 2 weeks off. They're worried about which bit of the 2 weeks do I need to pay. So that's what the question is. What do I pay? Not, I don't want them to take 2 weeks off.
No.
So as long as it's not paid, I think the impact on their businesses will be a lot less than people might think. But there is no clarity at all on this point at this stage. And then 0 hours and flexible working. So flexible working, again, it's just going to be a little bit tighter in terms of turning down flexible working. It's already a day one right. People can already ask for flexible working. And then in terms of 0 hours, so this is another one that's kind of doing a bit of ping pong. And that is the right to request a more regular arrangement, whether it be in terms of the amount of hours or whether it be in terms of how many shifts they're given, or in terms of when their shifts are given. So there is a bit of ping pong going on about this. So it's got to do with guaranteed hours, proper shift notice, and regular working patterns, which all defeats the point of why you're using 0 hour people, right? But at the moment, the ping pong that's going on is one side is saying it should be an automatic right that an employee can opt out of and say, that's okay, I'm happy with it, with not having these things. And the other side of the party saying, no, it shouldn't be given as standard, it should only be given when requested. And that's where the ping pong's going on. We'll see where it lands, and then we'll decide how you best handle that. But your scheduling and your staffing models might need to change depending on this. There's also not a strong indication of whether this is a 2026 or 2027 changed, it is more likely going to be 2027 if you look at the rate at which things are progressing. At this point, we don't have that much clarity yet on it. So it's unlikely that it's going to kind of make it all the way through in the next 6 months. So this will mean that over the next couple of years, there will be a lot of changes to your documents. So documents will need to be updated in terms of contracts, handbook, policies, procedure, disciplinary, family leave, all of that, procedures and stuff. Obviously, the good news for you guys is because you retain clients, we do that bit of the job for you. So, and we will make you aware when we're sending out a contract or a handbook update, which just means that you have to replace your old documents with the new documents we send you. You won't replace the people who, you won't have to replace the contracts of the people who already have contracts. This is your contract template. But at some point, there might be so many legal changes that you might want to say, look, it's not a change in terms of your terms and conditions. It's a change in terms of legal updates. But we will let you know when you've reached that point of the amount of changes. So that's really what I wanted to chat to you guys about. Do you have any questions?
No, mine was about maternity anyway. So, yeah, and I guess we're just going to have to wait and see as usual.
Yeah. It really is a wait and see. And every time something comes out, you think, oh, now we know. And then you read it and you go, oh, that's not really new.
No.
It's just saying the same thing over and over again, which is there just isn't really any hard and fast information on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, have a lovely day. And next week, we are actually doing a question session. So please bring your questions.
Okay.
Please prepare your questions. All right. Have a lovely day, and I'll see you next week.
Thanks, Nadia. Take care.
Bye.
Bye, Mel.
Thanks for watching. If you want a free peace of mind call with us to discuss your policies, handbook, and any burning staff issues in your business, click the link in the description below.